All right, good morning, everyone. I'm so excited. We are here on Saturday morning. Most of you will be watching this Sunday or beyond, but either way, it doesn't matter. I'm just thrilled that we get to learn about God and learn from His Word together this week again, even when we're not right here at church together. But pretty soon, I really think it's coming. I think we'll get to be together again in not too long, but right now I'm just having fun with you on the computers. All right, so the first thing I think we're gonna do is move a little bit. I picked a song from Miss Rachel today that gets us moving, so let's check that out. Hopefully, there we go. Let me, hold on. Here we go.
Go. All right, we're gonna share sharing the peace song, Shake Another Hand. Or this time we're not supposed to shake hands. There's other ways to shake people too.
With your brothers, you can shake hands. Or your I'm shaking your hand, guys. Your cheeks. Oh, I wish I could tweak your cheeks. Oh, bumper rump, I wish you were here so I could do this. I'm gonna do this one.
I'm winning. I can't hear anything.
Hallelujah. That was great.
All right, we're gonna share sharing the peace song, Shake Another Hand. Or this hand.
Let's do this one because I love this one. So this is kind of a slow, quiet one.
As I wait, you make me strong as I long, draw me to your arms as I stand and sing your praise. You come and fill this space. I need to be with you. Come as I wait, you make me strong as I long. Draw me to your arms as I stand and sing your praise. You come and fill this place. Won't you come and fill this place? And we're gonna sing me.
All right. Oh, I love that one because it just makes me think about how He is here in each place, wherever you are watching this from. God is right there with you, and He especially loves when we are meeting together, even if it's through computers, to learn about Him. So today we are continuing to learn through the Psalms in times of crisis, right? And today's psalm is 102, Psalm 102. We're not going to do it quite like we have been the last couple of psalms. We've really kind of worked through and talked about verse by verse by verse. Today we're going to do more of a chunks of it because I want to show you something. And some of you might have seen my sneak peek, but I want to show you how Psalm 102 could have something to do with a sponge. That does not seem like it goes together, does it? So you'll have to watch and see what I'm talking about. Before we do that, let's get started with the beginning of Psalm 102 so you can understand how this fits into our theme of Psalms in times of crisis. Let's just start with the introduction to this psalm. It says, "A prayer of an afflicted man when he is faint and pours out his lament before the Lord." Even if you are not sure about all those words, even if you aren't sure exactly what afflicted means or lament means, I think you could probably guess. Do you think this psalm is written by someone who is going through some awesomeness and having a great time in life? Or do you feel like this psalm is coming from someone who's going through that tough stuff that we've been talking about? For sure, tough stuff. This guy's going through some big, major tough stuff. Afflicted means has a lot of ickiness going on, and he's faint, and he pours out his lament. Your lament is your suffering, right? He's talking about his suffering that he's going through, and he's doing this to the Lord. This is a prayer of his lament toward the Lord. So let's start by hearing how he's describing how he's feeling. This psalm, unlike last week, David didn't really talk a lot about what was going on and why he was suffering. But in this psalm, this guy describes it pretty well. We aren't entirely sure who wrote this psalm. It's anonymous. It says, "Hear my prayer, O Lord. Let my cry for help come to you. Do not hide your face from me when I am in distress. Turn your ear to me when I call. Answer me quickly. For my days vanish like smoke. My bones burn like glowing embers. My heart is blighted and withered like grass. I forget to eat my food because of my loud groaning. I am reduced to skin and bones. I am like a desert owl, like an owl among the ruins. I lie awake. I have become like a bird alone on a roof. All day long, my enemies taunt me. Those who rail against me use my name as a curse. For I eat ashes as my food and mingle my drink with tears. Because of your great wrath, for you have taken me up and thrown me aside. My days are like the evening shadow. I wither away like grass." Oh my goodness, that sounds terrible, doesn't it? I don't know if I could write quite like that. But boy, oh boy, he is definitely describing how he's feeling in a way that just sounds awful, huh? It sounds like he's hungry, he's thirsty. David did talk about that last time, but he talked more about how we thirst for the Lord. I think that we might be able to get a lesson that's almost the same from this as the other. And oh, by the way, I do happen to remember last week I had a cup of water. Well, it just so happens that I have some water here again today, but for a different reason this time. All right, so he's hungry, he's thirsty, he's sick. He has enemies that are taunting him. He has so many things going on that are making his life just miserable. Ugh, yuck. nobody likes to be miserable. And why should we have to be miserable anyhow? I mean, come on. We have God on our side. He is all powerful. He can do anything. He could make it so we don't have to have any misery and suffering at all, right? So why do we even have to go through tough stuff? Well, that gets pretty complicated, and we can't go through all of it because we would be here all day long. But I do want to talk a little bit about that. Some of the things that we need to understand about suffering are that, number one, suffering came into the world. I know you guys know about this, when sin came into the world. And when did that happen? All the way back at the beginning of the Bible, it tells us about when sin entered the world, when Adam and Eve made the wrong choice. They had been given one rule and one rule only, and they made the wrong choice. And since that time, we all have sin within us. And so we're living in, and it's not just people. Sin came into the world as a whole, the perfect world that God had created. Sin now was throughout. So all kinds of things are messed up now. All kinds of things get worse and worse and worse as time goes on. Things start falling apart. Diseases have come in. We're learning some of that right now, right? That's part of why we're spending so much time at home. Pastor Tim talks a lot about that in the growing up message. Yeah, there's so much going on in the world that isn't so good anymore. And some of that comes because of the sin, our own sin, and our own poor choices, because we know that sin brings consequences, right? But some of it is just because we live in this broken world that is also covered in sin. All right, so that's why. The other reason, though, is because God is able to use our suffering to help us to learn, to help us to grow closer to Him. So even though God didn't want us, He didn't create the world for us to suffer, but He is able to use the suffering that has come through the world to help us learn more about Him, to help us turn to Him, to help us have that thirst for Him that we talked about last week, right? To help us learn what to do when these things happen, and sometimes so that what we go through, our own suffering or tough stuff, we can use to help other people later. When we're all done going through it and we come across somebody else who's going through what we already went through, then we're way better at helping other people when we can understand what's going on with them. So God is able to use the suffering and the tough stuff in a lot of great ways, but we're stuck with it as long as we're here on the earth. So what do we do with it? What do we do with it? We know it's going to happen. We know we're going to have things to deal with. That's what brings us to this sponge thing. All right, so everybody, if you want to pause and go grab a sponge, you surely can. Now, these sponges, because nobody's been in the church for a really long time, I think these might actually be brand new, but I just want to point out that it's really like almost hard and stiff and hard to even bend or move and almost brittle. It's kind of weird how this really dried out sponge, how hard it can be. Keep that in mind, because I want to talk about that a little bit later. So you have to remember how hard and dry this particular sponge is right now. But before we get to that part, I want to know, let's see, I'm gonna move this over so that you guys can see my table better. How about that? All right, there we go. And I'll kind of sit here so you can still see me. And I'm gonna grab some water in a little bowl here. Okay, you can see, does that look like nice, fresh, clean, drinkable water? It is, I promise, look. Perfectly good, yummy, clean water. Now, what do I even use a sponge for? What could I even do with a sponge? How does a sponge even work? Maybe I should have used my bigger bowl. Hold that thought, I'm gonna switch to a bigger bowl. I brought lots of bowls and lots of water. Ooh, except now I can't see. So if I put this sponge in this water, what's gonna happen? Let's find out. I put the sponge in the water and it fills up with water, right? It fills up with water. Now, if I want to get the water out of this sponge, some of it's dripping out, but it's still sopping wet. What would I do to get the water out of the sponge? Right, I would squeeze it. Watch this. If I squeeze it, whoa, lots of water comes out. In fact, I can get almost all the water out if I squeeze it enough. I want to mention the squeezing part because we're going to talk about squeezing like the suffering or the icky stuff or we keep calling it the tough stuff, right? That we deal with in life. So the tough stuff is like our squeezing. You know, sometimes you just feel like you're getting squished by it doesn't feel good, right? And when you think about squeezing, you think that one feels so good. Yeah. So with our sponge, we're going to talk about squeezing the sponge being that tough stuff of our life. Okay? So let's change it up a little bit more. Oops, hold on. I'm going to bring back my smaller bowl, but this time, and some of you may have been here, which lesson? I think it was for the Sparks. I think the Sparks lesson on Wednesday had to do with this icky, really gross green colored sin water, right? We talked about that. This represented sin. And I still have it, so we'll use it again. Now, what I need to know is if I put this sponge, actually I have two sponges, I think I'm gonna use two different ones. If I put this sponge in the sin water, and I put this sponge in my clean water, should we try it? Now I should have brought two bigger bowls. All right, we'll get it. It'll soak it up, right? It's going to soak almost all of it up. All right, so we have one sponge from this bowl, one sponge from this bowl. They still look very much the same. In fact, even if I turn them around, yeah, they look a little different, but mostly the same, right? But what's going to happen if I squeeze this one out? What will come out of it? Easy peasy, right? If I squeeze this one, clean, clear water comes out. If I squeeze this one, icky, yucky, green sin water comes out. Well, that's where we get to talking about our lesson. I probably should have brought a towel. When we have stuff happen to us, when we get squeezed, what's going to come out of us? When icky stuff happens, how will we respond? And that is the difference between last week's lesson and this week's lesson that I wanted to talk about, right? Last week we kind of learned how we should respond, but this week I want to talk about why does it matter? Why does it matter what we do before the tough stuff happens in our life? Well, here's why. Because if when life was going just fine and dandy and great, we were doing those things we talked about last week. We were digging into God's word. We were doing whatever we could to get closer to Jesus. We were praying and talking to him every day. We were coming on and learning more about him and hanging out with our believing friends the best that we can, even if it's through computers, getting together as a family to grow in our faith, to do more with him. Those would all be things that we would show with our clean water. We'll call it our Jesus water, right? Things that make us pure and clean through Jesus. But if we're spending our time, watching things we shouldn't watch, playing really violent games, listening to people who swear, fighting with our brothers and sisters while we're at home, if those are the kinds of things we're doing, then we're filling up with this icky, green, gross sin water. Well, when that happens, and we're all full, right? We've been doing this stuff, and then we start to get squeezed. Then something not so great happens. We get sick, or we get hurt, or we're stuck at home all the time and we're tired of it, or our brothers and sisters are not being very nice to us, or people on the computers even aren't being nice to us. What's gonna happen? What will come out if we start to get squeezed? Well, you can see what's coming out. That's what we talked about, right? If you've been bringing in Jesus and getting closer and closer to him, then when troublesome things happen and you start to get squeezed, you will be reaching out to others with a Jesus-like response. You will have, our TNTers know all about this, the fruits of the Spirit, right? Anyone know what those are? Yeah. Joy, I'm going to do it wrong. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, self-control, all those kind of things will start coming out of you. The Holy Spirit, if we've been turning to the Holy Spirit, then he will help those be showing through us. Love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And some of you know a song about that. You can pause it and sing it for your family if you'd like right now. But those people who really have been kind of ignoring all this because everything's fine, I don't really need to pay attention to God right now, so I'm busy doing this stuff over here. Then when the tough stuff does show up, we get angry, we get mad, we complain, we become whiner complainers. Oh, it's dripping all down my arm. Ew. And that's what comes out. And is that showing others Jesus through us? It definitely is not. So we really need to make sure that we're bringing in the good stuff all the time, in good times and in icky times, so that when the icky times come, when we start to get squeezed, we're still showing Jesus through us. Now, here's the other problem. What if we are doing these things? Well, no, we're really not doing these things, but we're not doing these things either. This is what I started to tell you about earlier. Now, of course, I've gotten both of my sponges very wet. But what if we aren't really doing the bad stuff? We're avoiding that. We're like, no, I'm not really doing the bad stuff. But since I'm not doing bad stuff, I really don't need to pray and dig into God's word and grow closer and learn about him and do all of that, right? So what if we do that? What if we figure we aren't doing the bad stuff, so then we don't really need to do the good stuff? Well, do you remember how my sponge felt when I first started this? Remember how it was dry and hard and crinkly and you could barely move it. Well, think of a person like that. Think of how we just get hardened. In the Bible, sometimes it talks about having a hardened heart or a hard heart. Yeah, and that is how we can become, even if we aren't really doing the bad stuff, but we aren't doing anything to grow closer to Jesus either. Then we start to have a hardened heart. We start not remembering how we want to be. We don't show the fruits of the Spirit. We don't show all the great things that Jesus wants us to have in us, that the Holy Spirit is right there wanting to help us with, but we're ignoring him. We're not doing anything to help us get closer to him. Then we start to get hard and have hard hearts. And we're like the dried up, icky sponge. We don't want that either. We want, oh, where did my water go? We want, I'm going to do this one more time because we just had a couple more kids hop on. We don't want the icky sin stuff inside of us, because then when we get squeezed by hard things in life, then that's what comes out and shows other people. We do want awesome stuff, like digging in God's word, learning about him, praying, talking to him, getting to know other believers and learning from them too. Because then when we get squeezed by tough stuff, what comes out? Jesus, the Holy Spirit. Joy, love, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. All the great stuff. But if we get rid of both of them, that's not good either. We end up with hard hearts that are not showing Jesus through us. And remember, we want to be living for Jesus so that other people can learn about him and get saved too. All right, I'm going to scoot this back over here. All right, so I'm going to skip now back to, let's see, back to our verse. We didn't do our verse for today. Where did I put my
Hi.
Hi, buddy. Just make sure mom knows we're recording, okay? Make sure she's okay with you having your video on. All right, so Psalm 102, we talked about how the person who wrote it is having a really, really bad time right now. He is suffering. He doesn't feel good. He's got mean people being cruel to him. And so then we read through verse 11, but let's look at verse 12. This is our verse for today. Check this out. Our verse, oops, if it'll let me. Come on. There we go. All right. So those of you who can read this with me. If you can't read yet, that's okay. You can just listen carefully. It says Psalm 102:12. But you, Lord, sit enthroned forever. Enthroned. What would that mean? Like he's on the throne, right? God is on the throne, in charge of everything. He has all the control, all the power. He is the King of Kings. He is in charge. That's what enthroned means. Forever, you guys. Never ending, forever and ever. We talk about a circle, never ends. That's how God is. And then it says, your renown endures through all generations. So your renown, your glory, everything we know about you, your awesomeness, endures means lasts. So your awesomeness lasts through all generations. That means through lots and lots of people, through my great-great-great-great-grandparents and my great-grandparents and my grandparents and my parents and my group and my kids and their kids and all the way into the future. People who haven't even been born yet, right? Still, God will be in charge forever. His glory, his awesomeness will keep lasting through all the people that ever lived. That's pretty amazing. So when we're going through tough stuff like the author of the Psalm is, we can remember God is still in control. He's got this. So instead of getting angry and frustrated and mad and throwing a fit, right, all those things that would be represented by the sin water, we can be turning to him because he's in control anyway. Which is really great news for us, you guys. All right, let's see if you can help me fill in these blanks. These are some big words today, so let's see what we can do. Psalm 102:12. Does anyone know that first word? But you, let's see, Lord, yes, but you, Lord, sit, and this was that first big word we talked about, enthroned, remember, in control, in charge, the King of all kings, forever. Your renown endures, lasts, right? It lasts forever, right? It already said forever. So his awesomeness lasts through all generations. And we talked about that's all the kids and their kids and their kids and their kids and their kids, all the people who will ever, ever, ever live on the earth. That's a lot. That's a lot, right? God will be in control for all people at all times. That's really great news. All right, now there's a lot more to Psalm 102. So it would be a great idea to talk about it more with your family. But if your parents aren't watching this with you, then you should show them that sponge stuff. You should get some water that you make dirty and get some clean water and show them how, what do we want? We want the clean, clear, pure water or stuff inside of us. And that is what? See what you can think of. What would we do that would bring clean and pure Jesus stuff inside of us? Yeah, the things we talked about, like reading our Bible or learning Bible stories or coming to church lessons or praying, definitely praying and talking to God. Yeah, all those things, right? Did you have an idea, Caleb?
I was just gonna say, I'm at my land.
Awesome. That's exciting. And you're still on here with us. That's so great. That's fun.
Yeah, I'm still on my bunk bed.
Yeah, spending time with your family. That's another great thing that would be like that clear, pure Jesus water coming into us, right? Being close with our families. But then what we want to show our parents too is putting that sponge in the icky sin water and saying, oh, if we are bringing icky stuff into our lives, then icky stuff's going to come back out when we start getting squeezed by the yuckiness of life, right? So we want to make sure we're always bringing in as much Jesus as we can and growing closer to him and trying to keep out all the icky sin stuff. And the other thing we don't want to do is we don't want to keep both out. We don't want to keep out the sin stuff, but also not be growing closer to Jesus, because then we just get hard hearts. And we don't want that either. We want to be all in for Jesus. And then we want to tell other people so they can be all in for Jesus too. Because that is what God asks us to do. And it's so fun and it's so exciting. All right, you guys, that's all I have for you today. I'm going to stop the video. We do have a Wednesday night Zoom at 6:30. It'll be everybody together now from now on at 6:30. And that'll be during the Growing Up Collision. Grown ups will watch Collision while the kids hang out with me. And we also have our Fun Fridays. So stay tuned for all of that. But for now, have a wonderful weekend. It looks like it's going to be beautiful outside. Bye, guys.